Our IQAC coordinator, Dr. Manoranjan Kar, who is the distinguished speaker from Physics Department of IIT Patna, and all my dear participants. Well, I welcome all of you to this post-lunch session, and I'd like to introduce our speaker today, Dr. Manoranjan Kar, who is an associate professor at the Department of Physics, IIT Patna. He received his PhD degree from IIT Guwahati in 2004. He served IIT Patna as an assistant professor from 2008 to 2015. He was an associate dean faculty from 2016 to 17 and associate dean student from 2019 to 21 at IIT Patna. He has supervised 8 PhD students and 10 are enrolled at present. He has successfully motivated and guided large number of MTech students, MSc students. He has been awarded IAPT Best Teachers Award, DAE Young Scientist Researchers Award, and DST Young Scientist Award. His area of research includes condensed matter physics, experimental, nanotechnology, and material science. He has published more than 100 scientific articles in peer-reviewed journals. I welcome you, Dr. Kar, and invite you to start with your lecture. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much for giving the brief introduction about my achievement and CV. So I'll share my slide, please. Okay. So once again, thank you very much for welcoming me and requesting to share our research findings. So basically, as all of you know, that it is a FTV program. So here mostly the teachers are gathered and to get the information, what is going on around and how they can approach nothing but the teaching as well as the research. And this is our novel profession. Never we think about that what we get out of it. And always we keep on working that what we can give to the society, rather asking that what society can return to us. So with this note and I thanks to all the participants to be gathering in this occasion to listen. So maybe some of you maybe heard me from earlier, and as you know that a researcher always come up with a single idea and try to do something. So basically this composite, and I got the opportunity to speak in 2 occasions, and I'll be talking about only composite. But I'll give the glimpse about our research, and then I'll tell you that what is the composite. And basically this, while I'll go and I'll be very focusing that how one can modify the properties of magnetic materials by making the composite. So let me go to my talk, and before going to the talk, and all of you may have seen, just a minute. So IIT Patna, but just it is just to show some of you may not have visited or you have not heard to anybody from IIT Patna. So this is the entry point and the science building, and these are my labs where we have taken a lot of time to develop. This is only the my lab and not the entire IIT Patna physics department. And the equipments are cater are not to go, just it is just so that we have lots of facility, not we are lagging to fruitful our research idea like TM, SEM, GSM, and so many equipments are there. So basically our research group is involved in spinel ferrite and perovskite, and we have got the 2 patents, and out of which one is in the oxide materials and another is the coating on the material. It is a mass scale application. Then we are also working on composites, and this coating is by the composite material, but it is the metal composite, not the mostly magnetic composite. But today I will be talking about only the magnetic composite. I will try to give the basic idea that what we mean the composite, how can we produce the composite in magnetic materials, and why we need it and how they change their magnetic properties for the application. Although I've given the novel magnetic materials for the application, and but mostly I'll tell you that why do we need the composite when we have very good magnetic materials, but why do we need the composite materials? Okay, so before going to the talk, and let me thanks to the my collaborators and the funding agencies and mostly my students, and I mean, they have only backbone that they have given this boost that to understand the subject and carry forward the research. And I thanks to them, all of them. I'll not read the name. And I thanks to Professor Sima Sharma and Dr. Arun Kumar, coordinator of the course, and the principal, VC, whoever supported. And I thanks to them that to make it fruitful. And generally, I give the thanks before, because whatever I'm going to talk, and it is only due to their support and this thing. And the special thanks to the audience. And I am speaking. Madam also arranging this talk and everything, because you are listening it. You are listening it, and this was the answer of the Krishna to the Arjun when Arjun asked, "Why are you telling to me, not to the everybody?" Said that whoever will listen, only I can speak. So same thing as we are teacher, and we speak when the audience or somebody can listen to us like a student. And thank you very much for giving the patience. So, madam, I will have 1 hour 20 minutes exactly. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I'll not
Sir,
just. Yeah.
sir is saying something.
Just
Arun
be
sir.
louder, sir. You have to be louder some bit.
Just a minute. Maybe my microphone is not coming to this. Is it okay now?
Yes.
Okay, fine. So generally I keep the timing, and I'll try my best to pass the message. And so please hold on it. And if you don't understand at the end, you can also tell me. I'm not going to tell you very big physics or something. I will try to make it very simple, so that you will be understanding the better way that exactly what is that. So the question is in front of us that are nanocomposite or composite are the same, that we will answer. Then importance of the magnetic composite, why do we need it? Then whatever the research finding or the research work we have carried out and tried to explore the magnetic properties in magnetic composite, I will be giving the message. So now let us go to the physics formulation before telling to the composite. Why did I tell and never we can challenge to our principle or the law we have accepted that which follows the nature that we accepted. And let me tell why did I tell this, because it is very, very important before we understand the composite. So in case of the classical mechanics, we call about the classical mechanics, quantum mechanics, special theory of relativity, and statistical mechanics. Please don't be confused. It is that, and these all the mechanics are independent to each other, and they stand on the our assumption of the two parameters. One is mass, another is velocity. We have assumed it, and never I will ask me or to anybody why I assumed it. I have assumed it to develop my mechanics. But what is the difference when mass and velocity are observable? Then we apply our class. We have developed when they are observable, and we have developed the classical mechanics. When mass tends to zero, the question arises. Always we write, or always we talk about mass tends to zero, but always it comes to our mind, what is the limit? Does the physics or the science has fixed it? Definitely. Never science or the technology left anything without making the formulation. So when we say the mass tends to zero, definitely what is that length scale? I'll say the zero, very simple. Any mass length below the observable length is called the mass tends to zero, length tends to zero. So V is observable and mass tends to 0. You look into that, your assumption is mass tends to 0. It is not within the observable range or classical range. So quantum mechanics and classical mechanics parallelly they stand to explain our physical observations. Similarly, another parallel theory is special theory of relativity, where we have assumed V is comparable to C, V tends to C. Then that is the relativistic mechanics. Then we call it the statistical when mass tends to 0 and V tends to 0. And I will clear you that what I'm talking about, that this is the observable. You look into our formulation, very simple but informative, very informative, that our observable is the human scale. What is the definition we give in the textbook? The length scale or mass or time or current, like your fundamental units, that is the fundamental. So all the fundamental units which we can observe, human can observe, and if I don't write modify, then I am doing the mistake, for which I can observe and modify. Due to only that modify word, what has happened that till now we are arguing each other that angle is a fundamental quantity or not, because you cannot modify. So that's what the people are arguing, and we have taken it is a some fundamental, we have not taken it. It is not our concern to discuss, but our concern is that observable means if anything below 10 to the power minus 6, we cannot observe and modify. That's what we call it is the micro world, your nano, everything is false on it. So m tends to 0 when we say it, we call it is in the kg, 10 to the power minus 6 kg, which we cannot observe and modify by the human being. And when we say the modify, by utilizing conventional engineering, not that capacity of the human being. What is that capacity of the human being in the modern age? By using the conventional engineering tools. That is your, you can say the example optical microscopy, or you have some classical equipment. So these are the conventional engineering equipment. By utilizing that, what you can observe, modify, that is the human scale, that we call it is our observable. Very beautifully science has formulated that when mass tends to 0, we have developed the quantum mechanics. So anything we will talk below 10 to the power minus 6, definitely we cannot apply our classical knowledge to explain it. But sometimes, and that mystery by assuming, and we need another assumption to apply the classical mechanics in the micro world. That assumption, what is that? That below micrometer or microgram or something like that, and below the observation length or the weight and like that, it should be, we consider it is a particle. That assumption we have to write. Without that, we cannot utilize our classical mechanics. Particle means suppose it can be a classical observable particle. That is again assumption, and with that we develop the theory. So that's what we call it is the semi-classical, semi-quantum, like that we also explain. But remember, assumption has to be there, otherwise we cannot tell this. So with this understanding, we'll go below micrometer. All are the black and white, basically what we measure in the below, and you will say that, sir, we observe it. Please don't confuse it. What we observe below 10 to the power minus 6, we observe what is our fundamental particle we have assumed. Remember, electron only we have assumed. If you ask me what is the electron, where it is, I cannot tell. But if you tell me what is the proton, definitely I can explain you so many sentences, or some way I can convince you. How? By taking the reference to the electron. But who is fundamental? Electron is fundamental, not the proton. So electron, what we have assumed, it is the below 10 to the power minus 6, it's all the parameters. So electron, and we have assumed there is an electron, free electron. I'm not using the word electron, free electron. Free electron mass is quantized. If I say electron mass is quantized, again somebody will ask me that, okay, electron inside the material, what is happening? It is the mass, it is the effective mass. So that's what I have to tell, the free electron mass is quantized, free electron charge is quantized, free electron spin is quantized. So electron, we have assumed it has a mass, it has a charge, and it has a spin. So what the entire properties of the material is explained by considering the distribution function of either mass or charge or the spin. So if you modify the distribution function of the electron, you look into that. I'm talking about distribution function. Either it will have a maxima or it will have a minima. That's what we call the micro world are black and white. It cannot be color, because color means the wavelength of the light is not falling in that direction. Never you believe in the micro world, it cannot be color, because color wavelength, our visible light wavelength, we have fixed what can be realized by the human eye. That we have fixed, it is visible light. So never I can observe anything below micrometer, that is in the micro world. What I can observe only a density function. I told you that fundamental is electron. Again, we have derived that it can be the density of the atom or it can be the density of the molecule. In your words, you can tell, but finally you tell the density of the molecule or density of the atom, it is nothing but the electron. Okay, so that is the fundamental is the electron density function. Either it is the mass distribution function or the charge distribution function or the spin distribution function, that decides what will be the properties of the material, how they will behave. So today we are going to discuss a little bit how this density distribution function changes and what property it gives to us, so that we can novel material we can derive from the magnetic material, like we can make a composite or we can use the single material earlier we were using, and it has happened, and that I will be discussing. So already I told you that another concept, because I'm going to tell you that what is nanocomposite and composite. It is the most important. When you talk about a material, and materials are the amorphous, crystalline, quasi-crystal, and superstructure. Always we talk about the crystalline material, the regular arrangement of the atom. Is it the sufficient definition? No. So what we call it is that regular arrangement of the atom. Again, somebody add that it should be closed packed. Okay, but exactly if you look into the crystalline material or the definition of the crystal, that is that it says, if you go to a textbook, they will say origin is not fixed in a closed packed structure. That is the crystal. Origin is not fixed. That means you stand anywhere in a crystal, you can take that point as your origin. That means you stand anywhere, your environment will be same. That we call it is the crystalline. But again, question is coming, it is a classical definition, remember. So what is that order? That order is, you can go down up to 10 to the power minus 6 meter. That is nothing but the micrometer. If you go beyond that, I don't know what is that, because I cannot observe it. So that's why the crystalline, when we talk the regular arrangement of the order atom, that I have to look into the micrometer or above, basically in the classical range or my observable range. When I will go beyond that, the material have a different kind of behavior. So we go, but you look into that very, very interesting formulation of the science, what science has done. Okay, with your visible light, you can, whatever order you can realize, that is called the crystalline. Then when you go below that, these are the micrometer materials. It is the micro world, and the micro world X-ray. How we have fixed the X-ray wavelength? Nothing but the understanding of our material of the wavelength. Electron understanding to the wavelength, that we have fixed that wavelength, and we have called it is X-ray. Name we have given, it is our formulation. Nothing, nobody has just to put impose on us. That, like if human being, whatever observe that wavelength, we have told visible, that when material understand, we call it is the X-ray. Then animals, all other animals, they also go down to the visible light. So we have considered those are the ultraviolet. So due to this natural observation fixing of the wavelength, and if you look into that wavelength, sometimes you overlap, because some of the ultraviolet ray also understood by the material. If I don't include them in the X-ray, what will happen? I will violate my definition that material electrons inside the material or the elements who can understand the wavelengths, so that we call it is the basically the X-ray. Now you look into that X-ray is coming to the picture when visible light ends its property, then X-ray comes. So the X-ray can understand the ordering in the micrometer because it understands the material. So that's what we call, and when X-ray fails to understand this ordering, then we call it is the amorphous, basically X-ray amorphous. So between X-ray amorphous and the crystalline, we call these are the microworld, or sometimes people call about the nanomaterials, and all these things is coming. Why I'm saying, because why did I give this definition? Because we have to distinguish between the nanocomposite and the composite. Very interesting that there are the symmetries, regular arrangement of the atom. If I don't tell the closed peak, then I cannot define the quasi-crystal. If quasi-crystals are what? They have the regular arrangement, but they leave the gaps in the crystal, so that we call it is the quasi-crystal. Their property is very interesting. There are some materials which shows the directional dependent property. In one direction, its property is different compared to the other direction. And the example, you know, the best example is your quartz, and there are the others. So that's what the 5-fold symmetry, you cannot generate a closed peak. That's what it is, does not exist in the crystal. We restrict. So then superstructure you can take, and I'll give example. Superstructure is that what means combination of a structure, and it can repeat and give you another structure, that is called the superstructure. And a very simple way to understand, you just pick up 50 nanometer balls, basically balls, and try to arrange it in a regular order with the closed pack, and that will give you a superstructure. This 50 nanometer, naturally it can exist in the material, or artificially you can generate it. That's what superstructure. So this is all about, we have formulated our crystal. Then crystals are ductile, amorphous are brittle. So those things we keep on telling, but those are the observation to give this definition for the crystalline and material. So fine, already I told you that electron has the charge, density and spin, and distribution thing will give you the result. So if you look into the oxide, I am entering into the magnetic and making you the understanding. And if you look into the oxides, they are very good, and people think that oxides are not used. I'll give you the example. So oxides, you can tune their property. They can be insulating, semiconducting, metallic, superconducting. So it can cater all the properties of the material. Means what is that? If you look into all the properties, this is the nothing but the electronic distribution function, tells you either it is a insulating, or it is a semiconducting, or it is a metallic, or it is a superconducting. This is only the electron density distribution in the material will decide what will be its property. Then also they show the magnetism, again spin distribution function will decide this will be a ferromagnetic material, or a super conductivity or diamagnetic material, or an antiferromagnetic material, and all other ferri, content ferro, those are the derived distribution function of the spin. It is not only content, or it can be your the superparamagnetism also there. And what is that? Only the density distribution function of the electron spin changes. Okay. So the question is that you have this spin, charge, and you have mass distribution. So the question is that the people from the ancient time, they were trying, is there any correlation? Always it keeps to your mind. Is there any correlation? Are they dependent upon each other? That means if I change the mass distribution, will the spin distribution changes? Definitely they were seeing that the spin distribution changes because electron density is changed. So spin and all those changes. But is there any coupling between them? Between the magnetism and the charge and this thing? In a single atom, is there anything? If you have a continuous material, then definitely they're changing and all. But if you have a single structure or single atom, are they correlating each other? Are they combining each other? Unfortunately or fortunately, we don't get such very significant result by coupling to them. Like magnetism and ferromagnetism, both are means fortunately or unfortunately, we have observed they are independent each other to be existed in a material. For the ferromagnetism, you required a free electron. For ferromagnetism, you required a free electron to have a free spin, so that the spin distribution function will come into the picture. But if you want to the resistance, and resistance is nothing but boundness of the electron in the atomic site. It is not free. It is the boundness of the electron. That's what we call it, is the resistance, boundness. And then we develop the different theories, scattering and all. But the fundamentals is that the boundness of the electron in the material decides our resistance in the material. So that's what the people thought, that can both be exist and get the multiferroics of the material. So that's what oxide also shows the multiferroic. But I will not take you to the multiferroic. And the oxides, in depending upon the mass distribution, they can be very hard, they can be elastic, plastic, brittle, and ferroelastic, and it can be ductile, it can be soft material. So oxides have a scattering properties, means in all the directions they change their properties. Okay. So before going to the topic, then okay. So then you will be having that the question when I should say the nanomaterials. And please remember, and I will tell you that when your electron density function, the electron density function is uniform, and in the nanomaterials, basically what we say, and your grain boundary is absent. Which grain? Question comes, which grain? We just keep on reading and understanding. You look into that. In the material science, there are the two types of the grain. One is the macro grain, another is micro grain. What is the macro grain? Macro grains, and now by this time you understand macro means it is more than 10 to the minus 6. In the macro grains, the size of grain boundary, how much? It is in the order of, it is in the observable length, more than 10 to the minus 6. So the material on the grain boundary, it can be a physical crack, or material always different compared to your grain. You just look into this figure, where is my cross here? This grain, suppose copper, and this grain boundary, it can be copper oxide, it can be a, if it is a FCC copper, and this is a BCC copper, you know that metals, they always try to be FCC because the packing fraction is maximum in case of the FCC. So this is a copper FCC, this is a copper BCC, or it is a copper, it is copper oxide, or this is copper, there is a crack, or there is a iron oxide or something like that, different. So these are the macro cracks. We don't bother about it. So who is responsible? Micro crack. What is a micro crack? And this length is below micrometer. Basically, it is, in other word, we call it is a crystallographic grain boundary. Crystallographic grain boundary, what? Same material, but the materials are under stress, bonds are under stress. If you look into this simple picture, you will understand that. You look into that, there are the grains and they have changed their orientation. So this orientation, whenever they change it, so what happened? And this the bond, they change their orientation, but the question is that the strain of a bond can take maximum up to 10%. Okay, but the 10% strain you cannot put at a sudden, and what it happens that it will break or create lots of problem, and natural they don't occur. They occur 0.11% by bending. So that's what you require, a sacrifice layer. So, but they are the same material. Remember, same crystal structure, same material, but under stress. Bonds are under stress. The electron density function, electronic property, magnetic property, they changes. So that's where the grain boundary puts the role on your properties of the material, that grain boundary, and that changing the orientation of the grains, it is around 100 nanometer. So if you reduce the size of the grains below 100 nanometer, generally you miss the grain boundary and the grain boundary effect. That's what we call it, is a single domain particle. So these nanomaterials are in the size of the below 100 nanometer, but definition is not that simple, and there are the different, and we have to add, let me tell that the materials size should be less than 100 nanometer, at least in one dimension, with drastically different physical properties compared to its bulk counterparts. Copper 5 nanometer, for the electronic property, I will tell it is not nanomaterial, because copper also show the metallic behavior at 5 nanometer. Electron confinement takes place for the copper below 2 nanometer, 0.5 nanometer exactly. So I give the example, that definition, that you have to add that their property corresponding to that particular physical property, it should be different compared to its bulk material. Then only I will say that nanomaterial, it is not that below 100. Like in magnetism, luckily it is 100, because magnetic grain boundary is also the 100 nanometer. So now comes back to the our topic that I will finish. That means what it is important. If you take a magnetic material, you look at the hysteresis loop, and this hysteresis loop tells you that it is a hard magnetic material or soft magnetic material, depending upon the coercivity. This is the definition by an engineer, that coercivity is less than 100, sorry, greater than 100, and westward we call it is a hard magnetic material. Less than 10, it is the soft magnetic material. Depending upon the softness and hardness of the magnetic material, its application changes. If it is hard, most of the permanent magnetic application will be by the hard magnetic materials, like motors, generator, we know that. Then soft magnetic, very important, it is the your memory devices and the magnetic memories, and we can develop by utilizing the soft magnetic material. So it is very simple, we have gone through, but as a physicist or a scientist, I have to understand exactly what is happening. Remember, when I say the magnetic material, listen carefully, the ferromagnetic material or antiferromagnetic, without applying any magnetic field, we observe, listen carefully, how we science formulation is very easy and clean. Without applying magnetic field, we observe micrometer, spontaneous magnetization, micrometer, I use the word micrometer basically, and around below the macro, you cannot observe that exactly the spontaneous magnetization in the different orientation. That's what I told. There is exist of the spontaneous magnetization in micrometer. It can be 1 micrometer, 0.1 micrometer, it can be 5 nanometer, and it happens while you are cooling the material at a particular temperature, the spontaneous magnetization 5 nanometer, and below some certain temperature, it will be how much? It will be 1 micrometer. So that happens, that's what you get a paramagnetic to ferromagnetic and transition takes place. So that's what spontaneous magnetization, remember, without applying the magnetic field. If I apply the magnetic field, I start basically measuring a hysteresis curve, but without applying magnetic field, spontaneous magnetization in the order of micrometer, magnetization domain with the micrometer order, but observable magnetization is 0. I have not applied a magnetic field, 0. But if I apply the magnetic field, always we look into that. If you look that, it goes, and this we call the Rayleigh regime. And in this regime, what happens? The small impurities, they melted, and the Rayleigh, you know, it is comparable to the wavelength, and we call it is the Rayleigh. Basically, defects are comparable to the domain. So that's why it's a very small domains they form. Then when you go higher field, the domain wall forms. But you remember, domain wall motion does not give you the application of magnetic material. Who gives? The magnetocrystalline anisotropy. After the domain wall motion, when domain wall it is saturated, the magnetic anisotropy, it comes due to the shape. It comes due to major contribution is magnetocrystalline anisotropy. which contribute the your coercivity, remnant magnetization, all contribution comes from the anisotropy, magnetic anisotropy. Its major contribution is magnetocrystalline anisotropy. What is that? Very simple. It is not difficult what we have done. Suppose if you have a cubic crystal, there is a bond lying in X, Y, or Z direction, or in its diagonal. So you look into that when your bond direction is lying in one particular direction. So their spin, charge, mass, all will be tried to polarize in that direction. But if you apply the magnetic field in other direction, so that they will be hard. They will be very difficult. There will be very difficult to align the magnetic moment in the applied field. So from this simple understanding, if you look, and if you have a cubic crystal, there will be 4 EG axes, and you cannot fix one axis. If you fix your magnetic field in X direction, so now Z, Y, Z, and your diagonal are the hard to the field. So that's what each and every material will have the anisotropy. Anisotropy comes when you apply the magnetic field. So that anisotropy will never give you the material to saturate. It will keep on increase the magnetic moment. So that's what when you remove that anisotropy energy stored inside the material as your hysteresis, so that gives you the property. Whatever I told that when you apply, so domain wall, and after the domain wall is melted, then your anisotropy comes into the picture. So this is a demonstration that how similar to the crystallographic change and the spin are changing in this direction. So you get a grain boundary of how much? Grain boundary of your 100 nanometer range. So that's what you get. And if you look into these domain walls, there are the different domain walls, either bulk domain wall, or you have the domain wall in the thin film. In thin film, you have one is that perpendicular to the plane, another is the parallel to the plane. So that's what they have distinguished, either cross tie or it is a Neal wall. So I will tell you that the magnetic properties of the material can be tuned by doing this grain boundary engineering in thin film. Very interesting applications has been come. People have developed the different kinds of the memory devices by changing the perpendicular magnetism and the parallel magnetism. So memory devices are developed and spintronics are also developed. So the critical diameter that I told you that it should be less than 100 nanometer. And this is the example of a simple cubic. If anybody interested, they can go inside and find out different structure. Can have you look into that. One is A is the stiffness constant. That is nothing but the interaction with the spin and spin. And K is the anisotropic constant. These are the two parameter. Anisotropy, I told you that what is anisotropy? It is the shape, size, and crystallographic, and the defects. So basically anisotropy means when it is deviated from a normal condition. Crystallographic is a little bit different, and crystallographic defects, point defect, line defect, and those also will be added to the anisotropic constant Ku and A. Then Ms, saturation magnetization in its bulk form. So if you have saturation magnetization, then you can calculate the RC, basically critical diameter of a material. It depends upon the properties of the material. So this is the example, and you look into that. Till today we are unable to develop the theory to explain the E and F. They are the constant. Basically the coercivity of the nanomagnetic materials depends upon the diameter of the magnetic material. But E and F, these constants are always we predict in the experimentally, but people have tried to do it in the theoretically, but they have failed, and there are some theories and all. It is changed for the material to material, and there is no concrete theory to explain E, F, and GQ. And this GQ, your GQ d to the power 3/2 is above the means your super paramagnetic nature, and it is below. Single domain, we call that it is a single domain because magnetic nanomaterials, there will be no magnetic grains present. Okay, grain present. So these materials behave like a superstructure, and also they show the superparamagnetic behavior. I will not take to there. That is a different topic. If anybody wants to understand at the end, you can ask me the question. But with this simple understanding, let me tell you that when you bring the two materials and the properties of the magnetic nanomaterials are catered in a different way, I told you that you can use in the different applications. So that if you bring the two magnetic materials, and let me tell you that when you are having a memory device, so in that memory device, your coercivity is very, very important. Coercivity is very, very important. You want a magnetic clean magnetization, but coercivity has to be low. So because that is coercivity, it records. Today, whatever I am speaking, this is also a recording media. I am speaking, it is converting to the electrical signal. It is just going to you, and immediately you are converting to the sound wave. But if you that electrical signal, if you put a, simply you think, if you put a coil will create a magnetic field. Now you see that electrical energy you have converted to the magnetic field. Then if you put it on a magnetic material, so that will magnetize. That you know that how much it will magnetize. Basically, it will store as a coercivity. So that means you require a soft magnetic material. Easily it should magnetize, but coercivity should be low, so that when you want to retrieve, you can detect it and retrieve it. So that's what in case of the memory device, you require the low coercivity. That is the important parameter that people are trying to do it. So what they are doing, they are trying to bias the one magnetic field by the other magnetic field in the material itself, so that the coercivity will decrease without changing its magnetization. So that is the main effect in the material. So now if you bring the two material, now I'll tell you that electron, I've told you the electron, charge and the spin. So if you are bringing one material to the other material, what will happen? The electron spin will correlate to each other. So that is you have a boundary phenomena. When you have a boundary phenomena, the property you want to look, forget the property, it is either charge dependent or the spin dependent or mass dependent. What you do, you just assume that there is a maximum. What is the maximum? When they merge each other, what will be the maximum value? When they come to that exactly distance is equal to 0, what will be the value? That is your kxx0 e to the power minus L by lambda. That if you look into the correlation length, lambda depending upon that, and cos omega dot L. Basically, the cos omega dot L is coming because of the direction of the spin. So that if you correlation length, basically what is saying that if you bring it to a particular distance, then their correlation, basically your amplitude will be maximum or minimum. Maximum or minimum, that was the kxx you will get when x is equal to 0. Particularly 0, there is no limit, not x tends to 0. Remember, it is x is equal to 0. No micrometer, nothing. So that is a kxx we have assumed. Okay, don't confuse, that is this. And this equation is valid anywhere in the boundary you look, you will find the exponentially. Basically, from the surface and in the both the direction properties will be decrease or increase exponentially. So that we say basically the distribution function of the electron will be modified exponentially from both the sides. So with this concept, let us go the composite, and very simple. When you are putting a means you have a sheet, basically we call it is a matrix, then you are putting the filler. Filler means you are trying to fill it. In the next talk, I will tell you that really it depends upon the size or not. That I will tell how we explore how it is depending upon the size. I will be talking about, because it will be more polymer. So here you just understand you have the two material. One is the matrix, another is the filler. Can I put any amount on that and make a composite? Question comes. What will happen? And when you will tell it is a nano composite, is that whatever the definition we understand? Below 100 nanometer, I take 50-50, I add, and I tell the nano composite. Can I tell? You will answer it. Very simple. So you think about, and I'll tell you. Let me see. Oh, sorry. don't have. I'll come back to that. So you think about, you have a matrix, then you have put the material. So what it will happen, I told you the correlation function, that at the surface they will interact each other. At the surface they will interact each other. So that interaction will be propagate in both the direction exponentially. It will propagate depending upon the distance. So when it is propagating and up to a certain length, they will have the means amplitude will keep on decrease, then they will go to the exponential constant. So what I'm talking about 1 by E, up to the 1 by E, you know that 1 by E means after the 1 by E times, we say that it does not have any dependency, and we consider. So very simply, we have formulated, if you have a, suppose this is a matrix and you have a filler here, and up to what distance it has propagated, and there will be another filler. This filler and this filler, they should not interact. If they interact, then your whole idea gone. So that's why if you put a 50-50, you look into that. If you have a one filler here and another will be here, so rather they will affect to the surface, but also they will be interact each other. So generally, that's what we don't call these are the nano composite. We call they are the composite. So nano composite, what is that? When you put a nano filler, it should not interact with another nano filler sitting in that material. Those are the nano composite. That's what any composite, when you are preparing, when you put the nano size material, and what will happen, up to certain amount, they will have the different property. After that, they will decrease. After that, they will again show a different effect. That's what in the nano composite, and up to the 10% we call there the nano composite. Above 10% we cannot call, because the correlation length are so, means their distance are so less. It is less than the correlation length. Okay, so that's what they will be affect each other. Filler will affect each other, their effect. So that's what the property you will get a different. That's what the nano filler. When we call it is the nano composite, is the means their percentage. It should be in the nano size. Percentage should be less than 10%. Then only you can get the nano effect. We'll see interestingly. So now I'll tell you that. And I'll give the example. What is the, you will understand. And you have seen your iron rods, steels. And if you look into the composition, they have made the alloy, and the alloy and composite are different. And let me distinguish that, don't confuse. Alloy means there will be the chemical bond, basically mostly the metallic bond between the two constituents. But in case of the composites, always it is the van der Waals force. Van der Waals force is a derived force and nothing but electromagnetic force. It will be only surface interaction. They don't react each other. That's what we call it is the composite. And there is a physical mixture when the van der Waals force distance, the surface, the distance correlation function again, very simple. When the distance are very close to each other, then only if you don't realize the van der Waals force between this, we call it is a physical mixture. If you realize, means observe the van der Waals force between the two components, then we call it is the composite. Then alloy, I told that they will have the chemical bond, and very distinguishedly we have defined that what is alloy and composite, and then the physical mixture. So that I told you that below 10%, I give the steel, you go there, you will find that it is 5%, 4%, and like that. So that's what I told you that, and there will be the different. So let me check. Am I audible properly?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Fine. So I told you that nano composite less than 10%. Why I'm telling the 10%? I'm not going to the mathematical calculation or the mathematical formulation. You can check on the book. So basically, what I'm talking that one filler should not interact with the another filler. Then only I call it is the nano composite. If they interact, it is the composite. So these composites are the 4 types. One is the fibrous composite, or there is a laminated composite, or particulate composite, or the combination of them. So if you look into the next slide, you will understand 0,3 particulate composite, 2,2 laminate composite, and the 1,3 fiber composite. Let me tell what do you mean by the 0,3. If you talk about the nano composite, it is the 0 means it is the quantum dot, and the 3 means your matrix. If you look into the composite, and the 0 is nothing but it is a dimension, 3-dimensional it is connected. So for example, the first one is your 0,3. 2,2 laminate, and if you talk about the nanomaterials, it is a 2-dimensional material. That means the electron, and when we call it is the confinement, it is only electron. Remember, it is the fundamental. When electron confinement takes place in one direction, we call it is the 2D material, or the thin film we call. So when both the materials are 2D material, then we call it is the 2,2 laminate nano composite. But if the thickness of the film is in the macrometer, remember macrometer, observable. When I call it is the macro, it is observable. It can be 100 meter, it can be 1 kilometer also. When I call the macro world, it is nothing but my observable world, what human being can observe and modify. So that's what we call it is the laminate composite. When you go to the 1,3 in the composite, it is the rod, and its dimension may not be in the nano, but their connection will be in the 1 dimension and the 3 dimension in the your composite filler and the matrix. But in case of the nanomaterial, it is a 1-dimensional. You have put in a fiber. Okay. So how this will be depend upon the size, we will see in the next class, but it is the that we understand the nano composite, whatever I was talking about the direction, and it is written. And what is the advantage of the nano sized addition? You see that if you put a bigger, they may create a physical crack, basically macro cracks, but in case of the nano, they will fit into the matrix. That is the maximum advantage we get when we put a nano size in a filler. But in the properties, if you look, they give the enhanced properties in case of the nanomaterial. We will see that, but it creates the sometimes impurity, and your agglomeration is very, very important in case of the nano composite, which is not happen in case of the composite. Okay, fine. So the properties are this is the volume fraction. You can find out the property, any property. It is a just example of the stiffness, that a volume fraction VF and VM and filler and the matrix. V is the filler and matrix volume fraction and their property. So generally it follows, but in case of the, if you go to the nano and they don't follow exactly this, and when you mixture and you can modify your property, this is the by taking the volume fraction. These are the school physics property that you can apply volume fraction of the properties, and you can calculate what will be the magnetic property and the stiffness and etc. So now let me summarize that what I want to say. When you are changing the percentage of filler or the second phase, and this is your composite, basically your matrix, when you look into the percentage from 0 to 10%, your property will increase. This is basically nano composite, then it happens the composite, and in other side it will be in this way. So that means what we are talking about means, because in the other side your filler will become matrix and your matrix will become the filler. So that's what if you go to the 0 to 100, and while you are mixing in between 10 to 90, we call it is a composite. We cannot, even if they are in the nano size, it is a, we cannot call it is the nano composite exactly, because they don't behave exactly what definition we tell about the nano composite. In case of nano composite, they should not interact each other, their property. Okay, why we call it? Because agglomeration that is there, means we consider it the nano size is nano, but you look into that when it is 50-50, and it will not be single particle, it is a combination of lots of particles. They will behave like that. That's what it will be not justified that to call them are the nano composite. That's what we go. So now I'll tell you that BHF and BTO, and I'll tell you that means what we explore by taking this basic knowledge. We pick up the different material. They are the known material, and already in the technology they are used. They are used. We tried that when they are the single phase, whatever their properties it is there, how you can modify and get a better property in terms of the magnetism and try to understand their magnetism and do it. VHF, let me tell you that the ferrites are means mostly we have used ferrites. Ferrites are the cubic, spinel, garnet, perovskite, and hexagonal. Why did I tell you that there are the different ferrites and their structure is different? While you are choosing the two material, first of all, you have to consider is their structural close to each other. If the structural close to each other, definitely they will come closer to each other and give you the better property. And I told you that your K00, okay, the interaction, the distance and the maximum they come close and they give you the better property. That's what you will in this. I'll show you that VHF BTO, their modification of the magnetic property, basically hysteresis flow for this magnetization. It is not that much changed and compared to CFO BTO, because BTO is close to the cubic, it is orthorhombic and like that, and CFO is your cubic. So their structure is close to each other. That's why they come closer to each other, so it affects more. But VHF BTO and VHF, although it is a strong magnetic material, but it does not affect to the BTO because it is hexagonal, it is not close to the BTO. So they don't come that much closer. So that also one has to consider that their structure should be compatible to each other so that they can come closer to each other. So don't be confused that BTO, any material, you reduce the size and in their nanometer scale, they will show the magnetic moment due to uncompensated spin at the surface. And very interesting science is there. I will not take it to you there. Please read. And just I'll give the information, and I don't have time to make you understand. Any material you are looking, lying in front of you, their surface is in plasmonic state. Then there will be the gaseous state, there will be liquid state, after that the solid. But in the physical, you are observing it is solid. Very interesting science formulation to explain the behavior of the material. Any material you are looking around you, their surface is in plasmonic state, and then it is a gaseous state, then it is liquid state, then it is solid state. So due to that plasmonic and gaseous state, any material you reduce the size when your surface to volume ratio is very large, so you get the magnetic effect on that material. When the size may be 10 nanometer, 5 nanometer, or 50 nanometer. Why BTO? BTO shows the magnetism when you reduce the size up to 30 nanometer. Okay, people, controversy is going on, but there is no question, and it has been accepted, and the material will show the magnetism. And so different kinds of the material is taken to demonstrate exactly when they come together, how they interact and modify the property for technological application. I'll just complete it within the time, and let me tell. Barium hexaferrite, nothing to do. If you do the Google or something, you'll find that it is a hexagonal structure and all the properties you can get it from there. Then this magnetic moment, already we say that it is a ferrimagnetic ordering, but when you measure the magnetization, they behave in such way that the people call it is ferromagnetic, but it is a ferrimagnetically, it is order, and it is shows the both spinel as well as the structure application. We look into that, and already we are using, and you look the statement of the Fujifilm. All of you us know who is the Fujifilm, and they bring all the technology to the market. And in case of our recording and etc., so they have taken challenge that they will replace all the alloys and etc. by the VHF and for the memory device recording, because they are the very good material, and they have demanded by very soon they are going to remove it, but they are also working that how to reduce the porosity and magnetization. And it has other the magnetic tapes are available, and nowadays floppy disk we are not using, but in the hard disk we are using barium hexaferrite, then microfilter device, and so many places we are using this barium hexaferrite. So but the main thing is that day by day we are developing the technology by modifying its porosity and this. And the other way, cobalt ferrite. It is a very good hard ferrimagnetic material, and it becomes soft very easily by modifying its chemical constituent or the defects creating in the right material. It is a abscess structure. Okay, so it has a different property, and if you look into that, the material, why these materials are very prominent, and it has been taken because their all the properties are above the room temperature. At the room temperature, they show the good property. That's what the people are happy to pick up these materials to be utilized for the industry. Nickel zinc ferrite is a soft magnetic material. So barium titanium oxide, it is a perovskite, and it also shows the ferromagnetic signal when you reduce the size, although it is a dielectric and material. So that initially I told the people are searching the magnetism and the existence of the dielectric or the electronic property together, basically bound electron property and the ferromagnetism together. So this material, when you reduce the size, and it is showing same property, and it has to be explored in a better way for the use. So that I'm going to that, this magnetism is due to the uncompensated spin at the surface, basically the super exchange interaction between the titanium and titanium via oxygen, uncompensated spin. Okay, very interesting. At the surface, they are in the plasmonic state. So that's what you will get the free electron. It is not that bound electron. Don't confuse that. Okay, titanium will have the d0 electron. No, due to the plasmonic effect at the surface, they will have the spin momentum which is going. And another way, barium hexaferrite, sorry, barium bismuth ferrite, that is bismuth ferrite, it shows a spiral magnetic moment. Spiral magnetic moment in the sense they are the antiferromagnetic, but every 62 nanometer their direction changes, interesting material changes. So if you reduce the size below 62 nanometer, you will find the very good magnetic properties in bismuth ferrite. These are the interesting phenomena, and nickel oxide is entirely a antiferromagnetic material and above room temperature. So these are the interesting properties of this material. Then we pick up, and first I will talk about the barium ferrite and nickel zinc ferrite. So you have to prepare the material. It is the very, very important. It is the very, very important. What is the importance of the preparation? That I told you, that you have to bring the two material into such a close length so that they can bias to each other. So physically, if you mix, it will not happen. And even if you heat it, they will not come to the closure. So what you have to do, one has to prepare the material separately, do the ball milling, bring to them, then you sinter it and make a nano composite pellet. So suddenly it will come to mind that if I heat it in a high temperature, again they will be bigger size. Even I have reduced the size, then bigger size, they cannot. Because when you heat the material at the higher temperature, they become the bigger size. If the another material is available sidewise, they diffuse. But in the composite, they don't get the material. So interestingly, it will not increase its size, except only they will make a harder material. They will not increase their size because you don't grains, different grains together so that they will be diffused. So this is the XRD pattern of the individual material, and after confirming the ball milling, if you look into that, if they react each other, they will give a single phase material, but they don't give the single phase material. They will have the separately, they are sitting each other, and one has to be. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, you are.
Okay. Okay, fine. So when you bring it, one has to be careful. They should not have the chemical reaction. If they chemically react, that means the interaction, whatever we discuss, it will go to the vein. So they should not react each other. So that's what we try to find out, that a double phase is present here, and try to calculate the percentage of phase present is in the material. That is the interesting that we found theoretically also. whatever we have taken, the percentage is close to each other. So once you get it, then we go for the TM picture and find out, are they really diffusing and sitting? Although the question will come that no doubt there will be also the particle of the VHF, but we try to find out really they are forming it or not. They are coming to the close each other, and we found that they are the means different phase are coming to the close to each other and without interacting, they are showing their structure. So after that, you go for the hysteresis loop measurement. You look into that from 0 to 1. Nickel zinc ferrite to the VHF, you will find that the nickel zinc ferrite, it is a soft magnetic material, coercivity is 0. Then you go to the VHF and it will be open. You look into that hysteresis loop, has given a very interesting feature. If you look into the literature also, there are the similar kind of behavior is available, but they say that they are coupling to each other. If you look into this figure, you'll find that they are coupling to each other. So this coupling and how they are coupling, what I was trying to say, the people by showing this, they say that they are coupling each other, so they get a spin distribution function continuous in this surface. But we see that if they are the continuous, and why should they give this biasing? If it is a continuous, you would think about if you have a distribution, spin distribution function continuous, so why they will bias each other? Okay, it is a continuous spin function. So by interacting each other, they will be modify each other and do it independently. They cannot modify their magnetic moment. That's why there are the lots of research by telling that and doing the different way, forced curve and etc. It is established, and so many people have done that how the spin structure at the interface, it is changing their orientation. But what we propose that you just take this is the interesting thing, that loop width versus magnetization. Loop width versus magnetization, what is that? You just pick up anything, you take that the loop width and the magnetization. At the particular magnetization, what is the loop width? You take the left side and right side and minus it, and you look the magnetization. You will see that you look it that when it is a single material, even if at the nano size, and this is a single nickel zinc ferrite, they are the like a Gaussian, very bell shape, simple curve. But if you look to the composite, you will find that they are not the same. And what it is happen, and they are showing double peak. So depending upon the strength of the interaction, they change their shape. But you will get this effect only when you see that this is also the ball mill. One can say that it is due to the amorphous, and initially the people were observing the similar property when you have the amorphous material, an amorphous magnetic material. So it may be the due to the amorphous it is happening, no doubt. It can be due to the amorphous, but in amorphous, what it is that they exist in the different way. Their magnetic properties from one amorphous material to the other grain are different, because it highly depends upon the size of the material. That's what in the amorphous also you will get the same. But in this case, in the size, in a particular micro size, and they interact each other and show you the different property. So if you understand that what it is exactly happening, why do we important, and what is that? Importance is your, if you look into the magnetic properties, and basically you intact your magnetization but reduce the coercivity for the soft magnetic application. That is the main intent for the application. But if you look into the understanding, if I understand that they are biasing like that, I can choose the composition and tune the magnetic property so that I can get the material suitable for the magnetic applications. If you ask me that which one is the best here, unfortunately, it is not the nano composite. If you look into that, the 50-50, we call it is again the what is called the like a boundary, that is the 50-50, that material basically here or here, they will be the best material for the utilization, or some way in the not only this material, they will be the better way to be used in case of the memory devices. So And this is a model that how to understand. Already I told you that when they come at the surface and what it happens. And I was talking about that when you have a matrix and you have the nanomaterials you are putting, they will interact each other, but they should not interact these to each other. So if you look into here, the percentage 50 or 50, they interact. That means no more they are the nano composite, they are not distinguished. So this all three, you look into that. If you mixing all these three, they are the nano, they become like a bulk because their size combinedly, means for the magnetic property, combinedly they look like a bulk material. So that's what this is the demonstration. It happens. I told you in case of the nano, you look into that, the property is modified like MS and other things. But in case of here, the coercivity has shown a property where you can utilize for the your technological application. And again, this is a nano effect in the other side, soft and hard. So whatever the basic property we are expecting, and it can be demonstrated when you take the nickel zinc ferrite and BHF. And I hope you understand that what I want to tell you, that how you can modify the properties in a nano composite so that you can utilize it. So this is the BTO BHF, and same way we prove that they are existing together. Also find out the percentage of its crystal symmetries. Then go for the means to check that is there any reaction. So Raman tells that there is no reaction at the interface, but you cannot say 100%, but maybe within the experimental error, there may be little bit reaction, but major way there is no reaction. Again, the TM tells that they're sitting together. You look into that BTO, it was a diamagnetic. When you go for the ball milling and nano, it shows the ferromagnetic. Then you combine, and although their hysteresis loops are showing that there is nothing, but if you look individually, you see that squeezing is taking place, so that you can also understand they are interacting each other. But it is a BHF, and sorry, it is a BHF and BTO. So what happens in the BHF and BTO, and also they don't lose their dielectric property. Nothing to tell here in this. Just they don't lose their dielectric property. And in case of the BHF BTO, we see that their interaction is very less, because BHF is a very high magnetic material. So that's what it is happen. But in the cobalt ferrite and BTO, if you take it in the same way, and if you look into their interaction, you will find that it is very prominent, because CFO and BTO are they come little closer compared to the BHF because of their crystal structure compatibility, that it is showing the better interaction. So similarly, when you go for the antiferromagnetic and ferrimagnetic interaction, you will find that, and we found that, and it is the MS is enhanced due to the interaction. MS you can do, and also the interaction can be easily see between them, that they are interacting each other, and squeeziness of their hysteresis loop. So if you look into the BTO and bismuth ferrite, and it is a very low magnetic field, and here we did the extension that we physically mixing, and also the ball milling, and you also your solid state compactness. So all the methods, it is found that only when you ball mill, you will find the interaction between the material. So that also demonstrated that VLFO and your BTO interact each other and show very interesting magnetic properties, which may be better for your multiferroic properties also. These almost to the zero coercivity if you look into here, and it has been observed that there are the interaction between them. So these magnetic properties, even what we did, and you look into that, they are not saturated. Madam, just 2 minutes, I'll conclude. 2 minutes, I'll conclude.
Okay, no problem. Carry on.
Okay, okay. So if you look into here, you look that, and it will come to your mind that, okay, others were the ferromagnetic and etc. But here the two materials are just, if you magnetic moments are very less because of this. So what we did, we separate the your contribution of the antiferromagnetic and paramagnetic with the volume fraction, that is a Vegard's law, and with the ferromagnetic, and just we take out the ferromagnetic signal, and we tried to study and found that there is also the interaction. So basically only the ferromagnetic signal basically at the surface, they are interacting each other and showing the beautiful magnetic properties which can be utilized for the different application. Mostly it is a means this properties has been tuned towards the memory device application. So you will say that when you go for the memory device application, you require a thin film. But first of all, remember, thin film is fine, but to make the thin film, you require a very good magnetic material as a target material. Without that, you cannot get the thin film in the better way. So you have to make the composite in this, and you can go for a PLD, means very high power PLD, and by such you can prepare this material. So that's what I conclude that this is the take-home message that I told, that magnetic properties of the different magnetic materials can be modified by making the composite. But when you are targeting to make the composite, you have to make sure that you are going for the nano composite or a composite, even your size of the material is in the nano scale. So finally, I would like to say that loop width versus magnetization curve. Can you tell you that is there any interaction, or there is a continuous spin distribution, or the spin distributions are discrete and they are interacting to each other? Thank you very much. And I apologize for going fast or not passing the message, because as you know that you cannot understand in a single talk of this 1.5 hours. So I apologize for that, and thank you very much for your attention. And I don't know
Thank you, Dr. Kar. It was a very nice talk. You were not very in a hurry.
Yeah.
It was good. You very nicely, you were able to describe about the magnetic interaction between the two types of the materials, the composite materials, and having the different structures. I have one question, that what will be the effect, what will happen about the switching cycles, the magnetic field switching cycles? Is it, will it be affecting, naturally it has to affect the coercive field and the remnant magnetization?
I exactly, madam, I did not get the question.
The switching cycle of the magnetic field.
Switching cycle of the magnetic field. So what you want to look it into there?
So let's say the switching cycle is when you are using the memory devices, naturally you are applying the magnetic field. So switching cycle.
Okay, madam, I understand your question. Basically, your question is that when you are retrieving the memory and writing on the memory, how reliable it will be? Will it affect to your magnetic material, right? So basically, madam, in case of the composite, this kind of composite, this will not happen the switching effect, because it is a naturally biasing field. It is not a spin distribution function where you will be getting the anisotropy effect. So for example, let me go there, means why this will be the better. And in case of that, and if you look into that, this curve it may modify, but reliability will be more if it is a single hysteresis curve. Basically, let me go back, and I'll be. This is a very interesting question, madam. So that's what I'm trying to address it.
Because when you are having a single magnetic material and when you are having a composite, naturally the whole domain wall engineering changes.
Yeah. So I'll tell you here, basically your coercivity depends upon the anisotropy of the material. But when you look into here, it depends upon the magnetization of this material, and this coercivity, it has reduced to a such place, and with the magnetization, they will not lose their characteristic. And but in this case, switching field will lose its coercivity characteristic. That's what these materials are predicted, and there are the lots of demonstration in thin film also. They are telling that this will be the better for the memory application. But over the edging effect on the reaction of these two material, that's what they are working, and there are the several papers that people also prepare the material and keep it for the years, and they have reported. and the edging effect, because here edging effect is not that much, but here there may be the interpenetrating because of the time. That's what they are studying it, that how it can be stabilized.
Okay. Okay.
Could I answer your answer, madam?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. There is one question, I think, in the chat box.